Thank you, everyone, for joining me here on the High Ground podcast. I am super excited because today we are going to be talking about all the romances in Star Wars, and it's an interesting topic. It was. I had a little bit of trouble trying to frame it, so feel free to go freeform if you have any ideas or things like that. Hopefully this is going to flow very well, but we want it to be conversational, so if you guys have points, just hop out and say them. Sure. I want to start out, though, by going around in a circle, kind of introducing who are you, how'd you got into Star Wars, what's your favorite era, and also what is your favorite ship. I know that's weird going right out of the gate, but it'll also help me frame things going forward. So, and I'll start with Mary Lou.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Mary Lou, and Fran, it's so nice to meet you officially, and then it's Christina?
Carolyn,
I'm so sorry. Nice to meet you.
Me too.
So I've been a Star Wars fan my whole life. I love it. Grew up with the originals. Originals were kind of my childhood. Prequels were my adolescence. The sequels were my young adulthood. So picking a favorite era is I saw that in the prompt in the email and I was like, I can't pick a favorite era. I really do genuinely love all three of our main trilogies and their eras because that's kind of what we're going by, because I just love each trilogy for very different reasons. I love the prequels because it's my favorite setting. The originals because of everything about the originals, whether you want to call it nostalgia or masterclass filmmaking or wonderful storytelling. I love the originals. And then for the sequels, I love the characters. I'm really attached to the characters of the sequels. So I love all of them. And there's a car alarm going on outside my window, so I hope you guys can't hear that.
No worries.
Thank you. I live on a busy street. And my favorite ship is Reylo. Love Reylo, big Reylo shipper. But I really love, I think that there's something to love. I love all of the main canonical romances. I have quite a few crack ships. I'm like, this makes no sense to anyone but me, and I'm fine with it. And yeah, but really everything's great. I'm a big romance fan, and I love Star Wars, and just when the two merge, it's just fireworks. So I'm really happy to talk about it with you guys today.
Yeah, and way back before we became friends, I found Mary Lou because of her doing drunken rants about Amidala, and that was just it was wonderful. But
I gotta know this weirdo, yeah.
And how about you, Caroline? Do you want me to call you Caroline or some for the Solo Boys? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually try to keep it private on my TikTok, but at this point it's okay. So my name's Caroline. Like a lot of us, I got into Star Wars when I was really little. My parents were super religious, so whenever we go to friends' houses, there were only a certain amount of movies we could watch. So one of the series we watched was Star Wars, and I just remember being way more into it than my siblings, and loving it so much. My favorite era is no surprise is the original trilogy. Just the chemistry between actors and the storytelling. Empire is my favorite, so I think that's almost a perfect film. And then no surprise either, my favorite ship is Han and Leia, and it always has been. So I used to rewatch their kiss in Empire so many times, and that's a core memory I have.
It was beautiful, and for some reason there's a bunch of weird, I don't know, I feel hate that popped up from it when it was clearly reading each other's signals and doing all these stuff, but we'll dive into that a lot deeper.
I have a lot about that. And I love Reylo too.
Yes. And then Fern, what would you like me to call you?
Fern is totally fine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Introduce us. Who are you? How'd you got into Star Wars? Your favorite era and favorite ship?
Hi, so I'm Fern, Fern AMG on TikTok. And when I was a kid, my brother was really into Star Wars, and so he and my dad and uncle would talk about it, and I wanted to know just enough to be involved in the conversation, but I wasn't too interested in it beyond that until I was 13, and I stumbled across a Jedi Apprentice book, and decided to read it and just loved it. And I remember spending that whole summer going to the library and checking out as many of those Jedi Apprentice and Jedi Quest books as I can, and then finding the Clone Wars and just falling head over heels in love with it. So the prequels was my favorite era because I'm just so attached to those characters. But my favorite ship has got to be Storm Pilot. It's got like a special place in my heart. I really adore it.
Make it canon 2021.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw that someone edited all the same romantic moments that Han and Leia have, and they put it with them. And you're like, okay.
It was so obvious that I felt like they wanted to like make that canon, but I think the higher ups at Disney wouldn't allow it for like the world market. But they definitely slipped those. It was
Rian Johnson tried.
It's no secret, like it's very obvious.
It seems very obvious, but I mean, they weren't really ready to have like a black guy. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's
I'm gonna drink now. Yeah, we're gonna start drinking. Cheers to that fruit.
well, but in trying to figure out how to actually write these and how they should be written, I have to ask the obvious question: is what makes a romance great? A romance in fiction, you don't have to talk about your personal lives unless you would like to. I believe I was greatly romantic, but my wife might disagree. But I'll go to Caroline first.
Sure. So I'm a big shipper, like, of everything. That's kind of always how I got into shows and movies. So one thing that I always look for is undeniable chemistry. And you can't fake that. Like, you can write to it, but if actors don't have that, then you really don't have much. So that's definitely something that's like for the fictional world is undeniable chemistry. And my favorite, will they, won't they? You need a little bit amount of that to like intrigue the audience. And I'm a writer, so I always like to include that in all of my writing. And I think it's such a human element is love. And that's such a big theme in Star Wars. So there's a reason why they included like epic love stories, because they're interesting and they're part of the human experience. So those are kind of my favorite things in fictional ships.
Yeah, and that's really like what sets Star Wars apart from every other science fiction universe, is because they were all about the science part, versus George Lucas created this very human, this very lived in world where it just focuses on like the interactions between the characters, and I think that's really what made it shine. But how about you, Fern? What makes a great romance?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about the Flannery O'Connor quote about the ending of a story should be surprising yet inevitable. And that's what I think I want from a fictional romance, something that is surprising. There is that tension. There is that will they, won't they? And yet it's inevitable when it happens. You can see why these two people are attracted to each other, what draws them to each other, and they make sense together.
Yeah, I've never heard it put that way, but that's excellently put.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
My mind goes back to I think The Office and Pam, after the show came out, looking back of like, oh, it was like we were in love this whole time and didn't know, and everyone's like, yeah, we all knew, like, damn it. But for her, it was surprising but inevitable. How about you, Marilu?
All right, good romance in fiction. I mean, I agree with Fern and Caroline completely. I have a friend named Carolyn, so if I slip into that, I apologize.
Okay. Everyone calls me Carolyn too, so I'm used to it.
Got you. Mary Lou and everyone. The number of people that call me Mary, I'm like, okay. It's like, okay,
wife's name.
Oh, there you go.
I think so.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, not spelt the same way, but yeah,
Oh,
someone said that to
Okay.
me. They were like, that's Mark Hamill's wife. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm like all excited about it.
Yeah, I like to claim Carrie, even though my name's Caroline.
Oh, I love that.
I know.
Hell yeah,
I like it.
claim it. But I completely agree with the both of you on that. Like so for me, it's if both characters are adults, if they've got chemistry, oh no, this is in my brain forever. And I think there's something to be said about like trying to also I've seen other people talk about how important it is for us to be a little bit more open, maybe to embracing friendships, platonic friendships, especially between men and women, on screen. I do think that's a totally valid argument. Like not everything has to be romantic. Like I do get that, but sometimes, I've had a couple of whiskey sours and I just want them to be in love. I just want love. But for romance, I mean, like I said, yeah, there are two grown adults. They got chemistry. I'm pretty much there. I'm ready for whatever comes my way. And the will they, won't they is great. Although I will say that I do have I have a threshold for the will they, won't they. If it goes on if it goes on for too long, I'm like,
I've been burned before by like one of my favorite shows growing up was Bones. And
oh god, yeah.
It was 7 seasons, and at the end of the 7 seasons they didn't show them getting together. They just mentioned it, and after that I was
that would burn anybody. I'd be so annoyed. Like
so mad.
It's like you have to, because then there's also, I know that a lot of television will not is so apprehensive about getting characters together because of the moonlighting curse, which is of course the show Moonlighting. It was called Moonlighting, yeah, with Bruce Willis, and I forget the actress's name.
Sherry Shepherd, something Shepherd.
Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah, after they get together, and then all of a sudden, like the show's ratings drop, like they didn't know where to go with this romance. I think that it says a lot about a writer. It's like it's really good if a writer can write really good romantic tension, but it says even more if they can write a really, really interesting relationship.
Yeah.
And that's why Han and Leia, I love them so much. And I actually love older Han and Leia more. Yeah. Like I love later marriage. Like it's just like, it's such,
you like older Han and Leia? Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like Bloodline, Han and Leia, Force Awakens, Han and Leia. Like there is such a warmth and familiarity between those two characters that I find so endearing. I've been with my husband, like we've been married for a couple of years, but we've been together for 11 years. And it's just like, that's it. Like, that's like, I mean, as long as your kid doesn't go crazy and like burn, he didn't burn the school down, but
Well, something to note about Han and Leia too, that people always like try to spin in a different way, because like there's weird hate for Han and Leia, but they were never divorced. They were just separated. So that's always something I hold on to. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. If your son becomes like a Nazi, basically, it's like, of course you're going to be like separated. Like
tension there. Yeah.
Gotta work through that.
It's also the idea of divorce even existing in Star Wars makes no sense to me. Are there like marriage, like there's like divorce lawyers in Star Wars? Like, what the hell does that even work? That never makes sense.
Leia would be a whole issue.
Oh yeah. Oh,
she probably had a prenup.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she did. Yeah, Bale made sure of that. He was like, "You're gonna get a prenup."
He wrote it right as she was born.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Oh yeah, with the music box he pitched for her. It's definitely this. It's like, yeah, but it's chemistry, it's romantic tension, and it's also sort of the aftermath of when they get together that I think says a lot about it. And there's so many. We're so lucky because Star Wars has so many different kinds of romantic relationships. Mm-hmm. Whether they're canon, whether they're legends, whether they're not technically canon, but it's in post, so it's canon. There's just so much to enjoy. And yeah, I mean, what's not to love? It's love.
Yeah, I mean, I do love that. I mean, for me personally, it's basically just what Fern said, where you can see the seeds there, and you see the compatibility, but also like you were bringing out, Marilu, it has to be able to transition to where too many shows and things after the people get together, they are different humans, and you're like, no, they're not different people now all of the sudden, you know. We're going to be talking to Daniel Jose Older this weekend, who's writing the new comic that's coming out for Star Wars, but he also wrote the book Last Shot. And so I'm revisiting that book as well. And, you know, I love Hanale's relationship in that book because they both know what each other needs and fully accept them for who they are. She knows that he is someone that is going to want to go on these adventures, and he's, you know, I don't know how to tell her. Should I even tell her, okay, let me go home, I'll grab my bag and pack it, and then I'll mention it as I'm leaving. He can't find the bag. Why? Because she already found it. She already packed it for him, and she's like, I know this is what you need. And
That's so sweet.
You know, yeah, we're here for you no matter what. We support you, and that is just beautiful. And so the ability to have them have that chemistry when they're young, and then when they get married, they don't become different people. They're still the same. They still have the same principles, the same drives, is really important to me in anything that anyone's writing. And I try to write myself. I'm not good at it, but that's something I try to keep in mind. But speaking of writing, I mean, we got plenty of these love tropes. I'm curious what your guys' favorite. What's the best trope and the worst trope? I gave you 9 examples. And so I don't know if you guys have access to that or if you can see it, but
I've got mine up, yeah.
And if you have other ones that I missed or whatever, feel free to call them out. But I'll go to Fern first. What's best trope, worst trope?
So Stuck Together is a pretty good trope. If it's the one I'm thinking of, which is what it says on the tin, they're stuck in one location together. All my favorite tropes, I don't like myself for liking these tropes, and yet I like them a lot.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Enemies to lovers, like, is it probably the basis for a healthy relationship? No. Do I really enjoy it in my media? Absolutely. Worst trope, I forgot to consider what the worst trope is, so I'll see if anyone else wants to jump in first.
Okay. All right. How about you, Mary Lou?
Okay, so I'll start with the worst trope in my opinion, which is like, and I'm not saying that this trope is inherently bad. It's more of that I'm just kind of really tired of it. I love triangles. I've hit my ceiling with love triangles because it's just like, it's almost like, so when, okay, outing myself.
Team Jacob.
Listen, you said before I did. Listen, so I'm outing myself here, but okay, so when Twilight was first being published, I was 15 years old. Yeah, I read Twilight. Yeah, I read them all. I did fall off it, I think around when the 3rd book came out. I read it, but I was just kind of like, oh, what happens? Like, what's going on? But I really liked the first Twilight book. I was like, this is great. I'm 15. This is totally my lane. And I am kind of enjoying sort of, no one is saying that Twilight was like secretly good or anything like that, but it's also kind of us looking back on how we treated girls who loved Twilight, is helping us reevaluate how we treat teenage girls and how we treat what they like and how we completely are invalidating every single thing they feel, and maybe just let them like what they like. They're 16, maybe let them have this and enjoy this. They're 16 and not stupid. They like what they like. And
Element 7 says that Jacob can criff off.
Jacob sucks. Okay, look, listen.
Jacob sucks.
Okay, Jacob sucks.
I never trusted a girl who's Team Jacob. Never.
Okay, because first off, because all of us are talking about like how we all dabble in writing. first off, from a story structure, I remember being 16 years old. This is totally a tangent. I remember being 16 years old and being like, we had a whole book of her and Edward. They're going to end up together. What, they're going to have a whole book just focused on their romance, and then halfway we're just going to change lanes and she's going to end up with Wolfboy? Like, no, that's not how this works. Structurally, that makes no sense. Now, to be fair, the Twilight books didn't have that much structure, but it comes to plotting and theme, but that never made sense to me. And I just find that if there's going to be pining and like, this will they, won't they, and oh, we want to be together, or oh, we don't, like, I think enemies to lovers fills that void far better, or like, I'd say like maybe, what's another word for it? Because I wouldn't really describe something like Pride and Prejudice as enemies to lovers. When I think of enemies to lovers, I think of like, I'm on this side, you're on this side, and we're going to try and kill each other at least twice or something. I would say like, disgruntled, like, I don't like you, but, you know, there's something about you I don't like, that then they learn to understand each other. I think that scratches that like pining itch that I have a bit more than a love triangle. Love triangles kind of run out of steam very quickly for me, especially if you can see where it's going. And my favorite trope, it's kind of a mix between stuck together and fake relationships. Okay. My favorite trope is arranged marriage.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Similar kind of.
Yeah, oh, we have to get married if like political or social purposes, and we don't like each other, but oh, we spent all this time together, and suddenly, you know, I love you, and we learn about each other. I do love that dynamic. That's definitely one that I'm just kind of like, if I see that, like I don't know if anyone else watched Bridgerton.
I watched the first episode.
Yeah, it's good. I liked it. It sets a tone, and I remember watching the first episode, and I was like, oh, this is the show, I guess. But then halfway through, the plot actually progresses like quite well, and I'm like, oh, we're actually kind of moving forward. It's not just pining for 8 episodes. There's kind of a similar dynamic in that show where it's like they pretend to be courting, and it's like, and I'm like, oh, inject it into my veins. I am here. Let me have this. So that's definitely one that maybe it's not the best one, but it's definitely my favorite right now, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. I like it. And Caroline?
Well, as a connoisseur of ships for my whole life, my favorite, it wasn't on the list, but it has to deal with kind of like, it's similar to this. Actually, it's not. But fake relationships, love, because like they're stuck together and they probably already like each other, but they don't want to say anything. And I think yearning is like one of the most important things in a relationship on screen. That's like Absolutely. One of my favorite things. So that can go to like a bunch of different tropes. But my favorite trope is probably like the one bed trope, or like having to kiss or something like that trope. And then realizing their feelings. I love that one. And then my least favorite is either like friends to lovers, and not if they're like I know there's a lot of ships where they genuinely are friends, but I don't like when it's like we don't have any feelings for each other and then suddenly something changes. I kind of like more of a yearning thing. And that kind of goes along with another one of my least favorite tropes is soulmates, because I don't like the idea that someone's like destined for somebody else. I kind of like the idea that you grow together and you're really inclined towards each other. So those are kind of my thoughts on the tropes.
Nice. I like it. I will say, for me, I enjoy friends to lovers in the cases where they were childhood friends, and then there is there's a gap or a distance, and then they meet later. But no, there's no like together all the time, and then one day you're like, oh, you know what we haven't done?
Like dating other people, that just depresses me.
Yeah.
Like the girl shows up at prom in a nice dress, and it's like, oh, I love you. Like, no, that's not, no.
That's not.
No. That's not how it goes. I'm also just obsessed. I don't even know, like, I know this is a legit trope. I'm just obsessed with the word secret billionaire. I don't know why. When I read that, I laughed. And it's a trope. It's definitely like, oh, I'm rich, but I'm not going to tell you. Like, but I don't know. I literally saw number 2, Secret Billionaire, and I just laughed.
I feel like they could have done that with Ben Solo if they were to make like an AU,
Oh,
set in
yeah.
our universe. That's kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
something I could see them doing.
Oh, rich, sad Ben Solo has to take over the family. But I'm already making. Oh God, we have to stop.
That'll be our next
movie
movie.
waiting to happen. Yes.
Raise a waitress. Okay, I'm done.
He's like a struggling writer, but no one knows that he's heir to this whole thing.
And I love how his mom's the one that always has the money, and then poor Han's just like a stay-at-home dad.
He's a house husband. Oh hell yeah.
Trophy husband.
Well, I
Trophy
am
husband.
currently a trophy husband. So, thanks, COVID. Okay, so jumping forward, before we get too deep into writing fanfic, also, I don't know if it is crazy. I'm not going to do it, but because of what you were saying of how we just kind of as a society disregard what young girls are interested in as stupid, I never even attempted any of the Twilight stuff, although I feel confident that it's pretty bad. But
No, it's not.
okay. I went to the second movie on a first date,
That's the worst one.
and I almost died during just the introduction.
Yeah. I mean, the movies are way worse than the books.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to
Didn't see
know.
any of it. Didn't read the books. Didn't
Oh, really?
watch the movies because I was one of those kids where my whole identity hinged on I do not like Twilight. Yeah.
A lot of
I
people.
was one of
A lot of
those.
people went through that.
Yeah.
I've always tried to be above that, but yeah, no, I was
Same.
in the same camp. Although I was the only boy that openly loved NSYNC. My first 2 CDs I ever bought was NSYNC's self-titled, the one with "Tearing Up My Heart," which I can still play
that
on
song.
acoustic guitar, and "Big Willie Style," Will Smith's album, with Getting
My
Jiggy
dad
with
loved
it.
those 2 albums.
I'm just saying, I'm winning already. So let's jump straight into the prequel era to get started. I wanted to talk about your guys' favorite ships. I named a few of them, so you guys can each pick one or two, and then we'll go around and kind of talk about them. But if I'm sure there's ones that I have not thought of, and ones that I probably don't want to think of, and.
Yeah, I'm seeing one right now that's like making me upset.
I apologize,
I
but
can
people
guess.
people have been saying it, and so I think it's important that we shame them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Element 7 says, Bo-Katan, still a better love story than Twilight. I love it.
True.
But yeah, prequel ships. And I don't know if you guys can tell, I just start with the next person each time. So this one I'm starting with Marilu, prequel ships.
Okie dokie. Well, number one, what was really funny is at first I thought that said Obi-Wan Satine. I thought that said Obi-Wan in the Senate for a minute. And I was like,
Never thought of that one.
I'm committed to democracy. Like, that's what I stand for. And I was like, that's unique. I'm into that. No, but really, Obi-Wan and Satine I do adore because you have the monk and the Duchess. Because like if a good forbidden love angle, like, ooh, I'm here for. I love like I got burnt out on forbidden love stuff when I was like in my 20s. Like I was like, oh, okay. But as I'm 31 now, and now I'm like, if I get a good forbidden love angle every once in a while, like, ooh, it's perfect.
It hits different.
Yeah, it's like a really good steak. It's like you don't want to eat that all like every day, but like a good New York strip every once in a while, like hits the spot. So I do love Obi-Wan and Satine. I love their they have kind of the Han and Leia like bickering dynamic, which I really, really like. The episode Voyage of Temptation is amazing. It is so funny. Like I made a video a long time ago where I said my dream cosplay is Anakin holding the martini glass, just like smiling, just like grinning like an idiot as he's watching Obi-Wan like flirt fight with his old flame. Funny story, I was watching it and my husband he hadn't seen Clone Wars. I kind of showed him the essential stuff and I was like, oh, this is the essential stuff. And they had their interaction. He just looked at me. He was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, they were like a thing, honey." And he's like, "I love this. This is great." Like he was so in on it, and it was so great. I don't even really, and I don't blame Filoni for this. He kind of had to kind of take it this angle, considering we don't see much of her in the original trilogy or any original trilogy media. Satine does get kind of fridged. she's killed, and it's so that Obi-Wan can have a feeling. But it works because she was a very developed character before she died. I do think. I think and so maybe it's not so much fridging. She was fully developed. She had her own motivations. She had her own goals. We had a lot of time with her, and characters die in fiction, and that's okay. And I did think her death was pretty impactful, so I liked that. And just Brandon, why is Annie Soka on here? Why is this here?
Because people bring it up to me, and it makes me mad.
By this logic, Luke and Leia should be somewhere on this list. I'm just saying, okay? Like, by this logic. But we're just going to pass right past that. We're going to ignore it. We're not going to look at it. I've talked a lot about Amidala in the past, so I'll kind of skip over that. Obi-Wan and Padme is a very interesting ship. That was a ship that I wasn't really aware of until I joined TikTok. And I saw like all this like Obi-Wan Padme stuff. And it's pretty cool. I like, that's kind of a love triangle angle. I think that is kind of fun because it's not explicit. It's not what the whole story hinges on. It's just kind of this like sort of like hinted at kind of energy. Again, kind of leaning into like, the forbidden love angle and fun. And it does give cause for Anakin's overwhelming jealousy, which I know Obi-Wan and Pad, like the implication that Obi-Wan and Padme were having this affair was originally supposed to be implied to him in Revenge of the Sith, but I guess that plot line was dropped. Which is fine, but it does make more sense that he's like, we don't need help from Obi-Wan. We don't need things from Obi-Wan. Like that makes it a little bit more sense in my opinion. But it's still a fun ship, and yeah, those are great. Most of these are great, yeah.
Sorry, most of these.
Most of these are great.
I knew what I was doing. It's okay. Yeah, Caroline.
So the two I bolded were Amidala, naturally, because when I was a kid, I was like, I'm 24, so I was, or almost 25. Wow. I was a kid when the prequels came out, and I was very into them, and I was very into Amidala. But looking back as an adult, I just feel like the actors didn't have the best chemistry, and the lines they were given were pretty awkward. So I don't ship them really as an adult, but I can admire the beauty in both of them because they're both beautiful. And they have the best love theme, hands down. Like, I love Han and Leia, but like, they have the best love theme. That's something I kind of want to walk down the aisle at my wedding at too. And then you guys might hate me for this. And it's not like I ship it like intensely or anything like that, but I think it would have been pretty interesting to go for the Obi-Wan Padme dynamic, because I feel like Padme, like the only thing I don't really love about Amidala is that realistically, I really don't see Padme like falling for Anakin. Maybe later, like if I could see them like falling in love in Revenge of the Sith, if like Anakin didn't turn to the dark side, like I could totally see them like falling in love then, because in that movie, like you can see in his whole like demeanor that he's like a man. And she was like pretty much a woman since she was 13, she was a queen. So I could see Obi-Wan and Padme, and oh gosh, Ewan McGregor has chemistry with everyone. So I totally could see that. And this is like a weird headcanon, but like say Padme lived, I could see Obi-Wan like moving in with her and helping raise Luke and Leia and then eventually falling in love. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never even considered that, but that's...
Right? I'm just saying. They both lost their great loves, so.
Ooh. So, it didn't put it on the list, but Element does bring up a good one of... he says Obi-Saj. Obi-Wan Asajj Ventress. And then we also do know that Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss did the nasty. They were a thing and fell deeply in love as well. Something I completely forgot about when making the notes, so just want to toss that in there. It's a little monkey wrench.
Also, Obi-Wan and Maul.
I can see it. Maul and
Yeah, there's tension there.
There's passion.
Maul sure is obsessed. I'm just saying, he's really obsessed.
Definitely something about constructing elaborate rituals to like have any sort of interaction with this person. It's just like not romantic, but yeah, passion is definitely the right word there.
Yeah, but your thoughts, Fred?
Yeah, I think of that list especially, I think it has to be Obi-Wan and Satine, but for me, because it doesn't end happily. I think if they both left their obligations, if Obi-Wan left the Order and Satine left her, her throne, I would have been disappointed in that narrative because I do love the tension. I love that they are both dedicated to something like higher than themselves. I love that they can't be together. It genuinely can't be together. And that the episode where Satine dies just does things to my emotions. So I think that's got to be it for me. Yeah.
Is that another trope that you didn't think about? Like, I don't know, ships passing in the night where there's this extreme duties, but you're at wartime and I don't know.
Like they want to get together, but a greater cause is keeping them apart, kind of thing. Yeah.
Is Corky a Kenobi?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to say no, but I know.
No, be honest, Fern.
I hadn't even considered that until recently, and I saw people online saying it. And I think I just don't like the character very much, unfortunately. and I love Obi-Wan and Satine so much that I just can't imagine him as their child. But it's possible. I won't rule it out.
Okay. I like it. I am one of the outliers because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it would be kind of a dick move to not tell Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
That
would be. Yeah, that'd be bad.
Yeah.
But that's really the only reason is I couldn't see her not sharing that, and then if Obi-Wan knew, he would have acted differently. You know what I mean? But that's my whole reason for it. And no clone chips, no.
Is it bad that I've
never
only
really
seen a few episodes of the Clone Wars?
No, not bad at all.
So I can't really speak to it.
I always assumed that the clones were Ace, probably by design to help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the one did defect and marry that Twi'lek woman. But all right, moving into the original trilogy. Who jumps at you guys with this one? This time I'm starting with Caroline.
Let's see if you guys can guess. Yeah, Han and Leia, Avi. They're just so good. The chemistry is just I think they have probably the best ship in Star Wars. Because of their dynamic, you see the character growth in all 3 episodes. In the first episode, Han is doesn't want anything. He doesn't want commitment. He doesn't want friends. He wants money. It's very closed off. Second episode, he still kind of has those feelings, but he's super torn. And then they fall in love and he kind of commits. Then the third, in return, he steps up to the plate, which I think people forget about in The Force Awakens. And he's there for her. He does things to make her happy. You know, he's willing to give her up to Luke, which is like the ultimate sacrifice. And he's basically steps up as a man. And Leia softens through all three of the movies. And then the second ship is, I kind of loved Lando with anyone. Like, Lando is just, he's probably my third favorite character. I love him so much. I could see Lando maybe in Luke and Jin and Cassian. Oh, that is a sad, sad ship. And they were just friends. So that kind of goes to show, like, they didn't fully, they didn't kiss at the end. They just hugged, which is really sweet. And they would have been a really sweet couple.
Yeah, and they kind of strike me as one of those that potentially could have been, but so much focus on the mission that you can't take time to develop it, you know?
Yeah, and their lives were cut short.
Yeah. But how about you, Fern? What do you see in the original trilogy?
For me, it's got to be Luke and Han. I love Han's dedication to Luke. I think that they have good chemistry. I think that, especially early on, this is another trope of, you know, the sunshine boy and the sort of grumpy man I adore. And I like the idea of Han being really confused about his feelings, like not knowing who he has feelings for, but he clearly has a type, and it's Skywalker's.
Yeah. If Leia didn't exist, I would 100% ship Han and Luke, 100%. But I can't. With everything in me, my heart is just like, no.
It's actually something I don't think I would ever want to be canon, because Han and Leia are just so perfect. But as far as what I'm drawn to and what I really enjoy is Han and Luke.
Okay. There is that one, like, random lingering scene where Luke is like, hey, and he goes to tell Han something and then just doesn't, and it never comes up again. And I was like, what was he? Before I go off on this, like, death-defying mission, I want to tell you something. Never mind. Like,
Yeah, when Han's like leaning up against the Falcon.
yeah.
He is so fine in that movie.
In Empire?
Yes.
Oh.
There's the Ford Peak in Empire.
Empire Han hits different. Whew, hits different.
I will say, I know it's from a book, but from this time period, we have Thane Kyrell and Ciena Ree from Lost Stars, and they are my the epitome of the friends to lovers, because they grew up together, went to the Imperial Academy, but then were kind of separated. And there's even, like, they even made a manga about it, and it's the most adorable scene ever when they've been separated for a while and then they first notice each other as, like, growing. And I don't know, if you see that scene in the manga, it's one of the most adorable things. You know, all of her friends like him, all of his friends like her. Neither of them can see why until they're separated for a while, and then they're like, oh, this hits different. But how about you, Marilu?
All right. Oh, so first off, I just want to make sure, because the last time my hair is leaning against my headphone. It doesn't make a sound, does it?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. Because I have, like, the side braid and it's, like, draped over my ear. Okay. So let's see. Originals. Okay. So I do. I love Han and Leia so much. So much love for them. So I do love Han and Luke. There's a song, Cardi B's song, Moneybags. There's a line in it where it's like, with them pretty ass twins, you look like Beyonce. And I always like Luke and Leia and Han just being like, oh, this is a problem. I think like that's a fun love triangle dynamic. My best friend and I were watching Empire, and it was this scene where they're about to go into the battle, and Han is like working on the Falcon, and she and Chewie have that great like comedic like yelling back and forth, and Luke like calls up to him, and they're just like looking at each other. My best friend's like you don't look at your friends like that. Like you don't stare at your friends like so longingly with so much love. I thought they were so cute and fun. And who else here? I mean, C3PO and R2D2 are just an old bickering married couple. Love them. Love like just how they're just so cute. And then it's like, and it's so funny to me because C3PO and R2D2 have been like, there was never a quote unquote honeymoon phase with them. Like they were always just this bickering old couple. They always have been since the prequels, all the way through the originals, all the way through the sequels. Like they just bicker, and it's really, really cute. And I just think that they are absolutely adorable. But yeah, I mean, like I mean, just so many. So all of these are great. They're Lando in the entire galaxy. Lando just being a smooth talker. Love him.
Yeah, it's I love Lando, and like part of revisiting the book, it talks about like Lando getting dressed and like, you know, putting on a shirt that's tight in all the right places and loose in the right places and just enough shading under his pecs for a suggestion. And then like he puts on his pants, and like the book is describing this of like the suggestion of a bulge, and like like he knows what he's doing, like you know. Also, I have some good ones in the chat of Jabba and Bib Fortuna.
Salacious Crumb and Jabba.
Yeah. I mean, Salacious, you can always make him laugh, you know.
I love him.
Yeah.
He's underrated.
I love him too.
You know, something I didn't put on here is any of the members from the Ghost Crew. That was all original trilogy as well. So
Yeah.
I apologize because, in my opinion, like Kanan and Hera, also one of those duty bound, but based off of so much mutual respect and, you know, capability. I do.
If I were to categorize the healthiest relationship in all of Star Wars, like the relationship that like it's all like, and not that makes it better or anything like that. Like this is fiction; it's supposed to be fun, but it's like if you're gonna pick like a relationship to model yours after, like I mean, Kanan and Hera are pretty great. Like they're pretty. Like Brandon said, the mutual respect, the admiration. They're pretty cool. They're awesome. I love them.
The fact that they talk to each other about their feelings and genuinely like and about their problems, they can communicate. It's great. Yeah, they're way up there for me.
Agree.
And then, do you guys ship Ezra and Sabine?
No.
I don't know what the mood is in this particular chat, but as a lesbian, I see Sabine as a lesbian, and it's very important to me to interpret her that way. I know not everyone does, and I totally respect that, but I just can't get behind the Sabine and Ezra thing because like I see so much of myself in Sabine. So yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's like, and it might just be my age talking, but like I'm 31, like I feel weird. It's like when people ask me like, oh, like, do you have any Harry Potter ships? Do you have any Avatar: The Last Airbender ships? I'm like, those are children. Like, those are children. Like, no, thank you. Like, you know, I think it's totally fine when you're that age to be like really invested in these relationships because you're the same age as these characters, and that's totally normal. And I think viewing it as an adult, it's totally fine to be like, oh, you know, maybe they'll get together or something. But like assertively shipping characters that are just so much younger than me, it just doesn't feel right to me. So I like, you know, maybe, you know, I'm like, maybe in the future, you know, who knows? Like, but I do agree with you. I do agree with you. I think that I think that Sabine does read. She reads as gay to me, and I hope that they go in that direction. I hope that they continue with that. You know.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I personally am not a lesbian, but that's also how I read her as well, and especially because my older sister is gay, and like so her relationship was very much Ezra and Sabine's relationship, so it does kind of make me a little uncomfy when that gets shipped. But before we move on to the sequels, I actually did want to spend another moment here on Han Leia specifically because of how much I've been seeing, at least in the TikTok community, of people trying to say that it's toxic and that he's like mansplaining stuff to her and like he's aggressive or what. It's funny because it feels to me like he's very much put on a front that is who he is. And then he's trying to not. He has no idea what to do, and so he's like wearing these oven mitts, trying to like handle this feisty princess, and he's like, this is what normally works. I don't know what to do. Like, tell me what you want, and he's respectful in the same way. But I'm curious, what your guys' thoughts on for it.
Yeah, I mean, it really does bother me just because that was like a fundamental shift to me growing up. And I think people don't know how to separate Harrison Ford from Han Solo. Harrison Ford has made some mistakes in The Princess Diaries. Like, he shouldn't have pursued a 19-year-old girl when he was married and 33. Yeah, we all know that. But to put that on Han, like, I don't really ship Han and Leia in A New Hope just because, like, he's not in a place to be with her. And she's not really ready either. So I don't really ship them in that. And he doesn't come off in the best light in A New Hope. But in Empire and in especially in Return of the Jedi, you see him make so many sacrifices for her happiness. And to me, like, people say the same thing about Reylo, which I get a lot more in Reylo, for Reylo. But for me, it's kind of demeaning towards women, especially strong women like Leia. Like, she can stand up to herself for herself. She is very capable and she knows how to say no. Like when Luke is trying to pursue her kind of in Empire, she basically makes it clear, like she kisses him to make Han jealous. But like, I really don't think Han is the type of character. We've seen him always do the right thing, especially in Solo. And I really don't think he would like push her boundaries. Like, he lets her take the lead, and she did kind of need a push because she was scared of her emotions in Empire. So yeah, he pushed her a little bit, but he never pushed her to make her uncomfortable. And I think people it bothers me because I think they don't see the whole picture. And I don't know, I think they love to hate it. And I think people kind of get on bandwagons in Star Wars and like to agree with other people and don't really form their own opinions. And that kind of bothers me. So
I mean, if you watch the movies, it's because people want this equals that. They want a direct formula. And yes, some of the things that he does could be problematic if she was not receptive, open, and welcoming to it, but she was. And he knew that, and it's clear that if she wasn't, he would not have continued. And I think what you saw in Return of the Jedi is the best indication. He's like, listen, Luke comes back, I'm gone. Like, I was trying, we had a good run.
I won't get in the way.
I won't stand in the way. Exactly.
Yeah.
That says everything you need to know about a man.
Yeah. And it's like, okay. As someone who has been on the receiving end, and I think I know what a woman looks like and how she behaves when she's not feeling it. Like,
Absolutely.
okay, like, I have been in that situation, like, not in a dangerous way, but just I've been in that situation.
I think every woman's been in that situation.
Yeah,
Sadly.
where a guy is is Han Soloing his way in Empire, and I am just Jabba the Hutting my neck in my face into my body, and I'm like, no. Like I'm like, oh no. Like if Leia was not interested, she would have made it very clear that she was not interested. And at the end of the day, too, it's like I do have a legitimate bone to pick with people that over police ships and are like this is toxic and this is good, and it's like it's pretend, like it's supposed to be fun, like, and it's like, okay, so every single relationship ever in fiction and media needs to be healthy. It's like, well, no, like that's not the whole point. Like if like
art imitates life and vice versa.
Yeah, it's this. The whole point of fiction, at least in my opinion, is to see things like represented in ways that you normally wouldn't. What's the word? I'm a beer and a half in. Sorry, hang on. It's like seeing situations that you wouldn't be all that receptive to or welcoming to in real life, but seeing them made fictional, made fun, made big and bombastic. And it's like, should you fall in love with somebody on the opposite side of a war who's trying to kill you? No, you probably shouldn't do that. That's probably not a good thing to live by. But it's fantasy. It's pretend. If there's not conflict, whether it be big and galactic enemies to lovers or just this like Han and Leia like bickering back and forth energy, like I just don't find that all that fun. Like it's supposed to be fantasy. Like let it be fantasy and let it be fun.
And if people went through like a rule book of like, if she says like, obviously if a woman says no, that means no. You know, I've been harassed many times by men, so I get it. But like, there's also a point where like, you know how to read the room, and these Han and Leia were really good friends. They knew each other extremely well. And if you read the book, the novelization, and if you read the script, it says explicitly clear that she had feelings for him and she was denying it, which makes sense for her character because she's lost everything. So like, if you can't go like, you don't want to be like if you're having a conversation, right? It's not hello, how are you? It's not the same. It's not a script written out, you know, it's improvisation. It's learning each other and having that rapport. So I think that's like something people should just, come on, people. It's realistic and it's fictional and it's fun. Like if she could kick his ass, and she'd have no problem doing it. She's Padme's daughter. Hello. That's just my 2 cents.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's this feeling of like, it's this. And it's like, and I also like, if people don't like it, like, that's fine. Like, you don't have to like it. Like, you don't have to ship anything. Like, it's just like, just don't, it's just like, there's this weird obsession, I think, in fandoms, and it's always been there, but it's like, I find it very prevalent, especially now that so much of us are online, like all fandoms kind of interact in kind of an online space where like, but it's not enough for someone to not like something. They have to be right. Like, you know, I'm right and you're wrong. And the reason, it's not that we just have different preferences or different tastes. It's that I have the high ground.
It's a high horse, yeah,
you're the deviant. And it's like, I think it's just pretend and we're all having a good time, you know?
And I think people like to jump on the bandwagon. Like, people liked The Last Jedi. A lot of people liked it in the theaters. I like it. And then coming out, and all these years later, it's all this small group of people that hate it so much that like ruins it for everyone. I'm like, there's things in the prequel or in the sequels that I don't love at all. But you know what? I'm not going to sit there on the internet and like be really negative, because I just really don't think that solves a lot. And like, I don't want to ruin something for somebody else. If it's not truly problematic, you know, maybe it's not my cup of tea, but it's not my job to sit on a computer and make you feel bad about yourself, or make you feel bad for liking something that's relatively innocent, you know? So,
yeah.
I feel this way about a lot of things, but especially Star Wars. at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, you don't have to be here. You can find something that is fun for you and that you do enjoy, but like, we're all here to have fun, I think. Yeah.
And then another thing I typically notice is not only is it like you're wrong, but it's a thing you like is the worst thing that has ever happened in the history of humankind.
Literally. It's cancel
Apartheid?
culture.
Nope. That.
Cancel culture.
The thing you like. You're like,
and it's like, if you don't like something, it like, or if you like something and someone doesn't agree with you, they almost want to attack your character. And I'm like, that's so not fair. Like, you don't know people, and everyone's struggling. So I think it's really important to just be kind to everyone, especially these young kids on the internet who are just getting into Star Wars. You know, it's not our place to be like, no, you can't like that. And I'll give you a whole PowerPoint on why. It's like, just let them enjoy what they enjoy. Unless it's like incest, like, go ahead, you know?
yeah, don't ship Luke and Leia, please.
And as long as everyone's 18 and consenting, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Perfect. Perfectly said. All right, so let's jump into the sequels here. We have quite a few potential ships. The very last one on the list is one I made up. I even made a graphic for it with Claude Rose. Claude is the big slug thing that basically replaced Rose as their on the ship.
Poor Rose.
Poor Rose.
I had to. I'll send you guys. I photoshopped a picture of them together. At like where Padme and Anakin got married. It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. But Fern, what jumps out at you from this era?
Yeah, it's Storm Pilot. I remember coming out of that theater the first time I saw The Force Awakens. Like that meme that I think it's from It's Always Sunny with the wall of like papers with strings connecting everything.
Yeah, Charlie and Pepe Sylvia. Yeah.
Yes, I that was me. And I had all my theories about how this is definitely going to be canon and this is what they were building up towards. And like, oh, here are the different archetypes the characters fulfill. And like, here's why they're destined to be together. And it felt like something really special from the very start. And I still feel that way, even though it didn't pan out the way that I had hoped. It still feels special.
Yeah, it's something that is very, very commonly mentioned as being very disappointing for most. But your thoughts on it, Mary Lou?
Yeah, the sequels are definitely where most of my ships are. You left one out though, Brandon. You left one out.
I'm sure I did.
You left out
Babu Frick and Dio.
No, you left out Kylo and Poe. I think it's called Dark Pilot. Dark Pilot is one of my crack ships. They have like so little interaction, but the interaction they do have,
and they grew up together.
They did. They did. And I'm in the theater watching The Force Awakens, and he just slams Poe's head back, and Poe's like just like moaning, and Kylo's reaching for something. I don't know what he's reaching for, and I was like, whoa! I'm like, this is very sexual. I definitely that's like one of my little crack ships. I love it. It's fun. I just think they have a lot of sexual chemistry in that scene, and in the opening too, where he comes in. Super fun. I love Storm Pilot. I love them together. You want to talk about chemistry? Like, oh my God, like Oscar and John had this electric chemistry that was so amazing and just like, and just like impalpable. And it's just such a shame. And it's like, I have like a conspiracy theory like that. I really believe that in the first draft of or the first couple of drafts of The Last Jedi, Finn and Poe go to the casino together and they go on this adventure together. And I think that maybe someone, like some sort of executive force, was like, no homo, no, split them up, and I understand like Poe needed a character arc. He needed to kind of go through his own emotional journey. Sure, fine, but they could have done it together. And I'm like, and I love Rose though. So then they kind of created Rose to be this sort of stand-in for Finn's moral compass. It worked out fine. I really love Rose, but I just wish we got a little bit more time of those two together. But I do love Storm Pilot. And I think, and when The Force Awakens came out, I liked Finn and Rey. I thought they were super cute because they had that friendship dynamic. It was kind of like this puppy love energy especially with Finn and her. And I thought they were cute, but it ultimately but it wasn't anything that I was like shipping though. I was just like, oh, they're cute. If they end up together, that's super cute. It was after The Last Jedi that I really went all in on the Reylo train. And I was like, whoa, whoa, what's all this? And I love Reylo. And that's another ship. It's just that, oh, it's so toxic. Oh, it's so toxic. And it's just, the aspects that a lot of people find problematic about that ship are the aspects that a lot of people find enticing about the ship. So one person's cup of tea is another person's, cup of arsenic, so to speak. It doesn't work for everybody. Enemies to lovers is not a dynamic.
It's like pineapple on pizza, Yep,
it's pineapple on pizza. It's some people love it, some people hate it, and that's totally fine. And it's just all in how we treat each other and how we speak to each other regarding it. If you ship Reylo, you're not some weird brainwashed, you're going to marry someone who's abusive. Whoa. I just think I just love the dynamic of light and dark coming together. I think you're reading a little too much into that, and yeah, it's just fun. It's like I said, and I said this on the Kylo podcast, he's in black, she's in white. It's catnip for me. I love that dynamic. And because I always wanted light and darkness, because I was always I stood by the fact that I still stand by the fact that the dark side is not inherently evil. It's nature. It's death. It's like death and life. Life is light and death is darkness. Death isn't fun. It's not a good time. It's not a New Year's Eve party, but you need it for there to be balance. And the idea of light and darkness coming together to create balance was so poetic to me. I loved that dynamic between the two of them because the prequels, it was all about there's too much light, so darkness rises. The original trilogy is there's too much light or there's too much darkness, so light rises. And then the sequels are all about light and darkness coming together to create balance. And that dynamic was just great. But I love it. But there's so many ships in here that are great.
And what you described is how we got Oreo cookies. And those are wonderful,
Who doesn't love an Oreo?
No, when you were saying that, though, about darkness not necessarily being evil is also really touched on in the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars. Because the son in there wasn't evil until things started progressing and he got that way, but he wasn't that way initially. And yeah, so I mean, dark doesn't have to be evil. It could just be like shopping at Hot Topic and and being weirdly obsessed with the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland.
There you go.
There's so many out there.
Harm in that.
If you have a Jack Skellington tattoo, you're one of those people. That's all I'm saying. How about you, Caroline?
So the first movie, The Force Awakens, I didn't really ship anybody. I could see where they were going with Rey and Finn, and I just thought they were friends. I never saw the chemistry romantically for them. So I was taken aback in The Last Jedi. I was shocked. I did not like Kylo in Force Awakens at all. And then Rian Johnson did such a good job of bringing out Kylo Ren's character, and especially Adam Driver. It's a testament to him. So kind of the whole time I was watching The Last Jedi, I was just like, wait, do I think he's cute? And then I was like, wait, do I ship them? It was a weird coming to moment because in the first one, I literally hated Kylo Ren. And then I was like, wait, I kind of like that they see the good in each other. And enemies to lovers is so good. And something that I always think of, and maybe this is me going on like a feminist tangent, but I think if the roles were reversed, nobody would have a problem with Raylo.
Yep.
Because people think that, like, people always want to say, oh, like, he was abusive towards her. They were enemies. I mean, duh. And, like, and Rey can stand her ground. She's a Palpatine, for crying out loud. You know, like, she has power and she held her own. She hurt him too. So, like, of course there was, like, but then in The Last Jedi, he doesn't attempt to hurt her again, nor does he in The Rise of Skywalker, really. He's still trying to turn her. So I get why people have a problem with it, but I just think they had the most chemistry of anyone in the sequel trilogy besides Storm Pilot, who I also think had really good chemistry. And just a fun dynamic. Like, we hadn't really seen a relationship like theirs, and they kind of just made sense together. So yeah, but I kind of, if polyamory exists in the Star Wars universe, I could see like Finn, Rose, and Poe together.
Oh, okay, that's cute.
I know,
That's
right?
really cute. Yeah, I was thinking Finn, Rey, and Poe, which there's that scene at the end of Rise of Skywalker where they're all hugging and they're just holding each other.
Yeah.
There's so much about like Storm Pilot and gentle touches that I adore. But that moment is so
That's
sweet,
a
and
great
I watched
moment.
it and I was like, that's a polycule that I'm witnessing on the screen right now. But
Yeah.
Shout out to. Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
Oh no. So I'm here for you guys. If we ever talk at the same time, you guys win. You guys win. Okay.
Okay. Shout out to Ginger Rose. I love Ginger Rose. I love Huxton. You're really
Fanfiction
cute.
discovered it for me. Thank you, Fanfiction.
Oh, After Blossom, who is, I mean, every Raylo knows who After Blossom is. She does this awesome, amazing Raylo fan art. Super cute chibis. I have a bunch of her stuff, but the first time I saw Ginger Rose was to her like little fan art with the little chibis, and I was like, oh, this is me now. Like,
They're
I love
cute.
them.
They're cute.
They're so cute. Because
I
it's
liked
like
Kylux in The Force Awakens, actually.
I like Kylux too. I enjoy that shit. Just I hate you. Like, I hate you. Like, it's really fun. It's there's just so much. There's so much to love in terms of ships. But it's also like there was a video in my drafts for a long time where I was like talking about how like there are different types of ships. Like, there are ships that are just like really cute. Like Ginger Rose to me is like just this really sweet, like, let's hold hands in a field of flowers. And then you have, kind of like these ride or die ships. You're like, oh, I just want them to be together and happy. I want, Finn and Poe to be together and happy. I want Rey and Ben to be together and happy. And then there's the dark ships where it's like, I'm not interested in Kylo and Poe having a conversation. I'm just interested if they're horizontal. Like, that's all I really care.
Mood.
That's all I care. And we've all got them. It's like, but there's all different types of ships. And it's so, like, if someone says they ship something, if someone's mind immediately goes to, like, oh, it's, what are you? What are you sick? It's like, no. It's like cute. It's soft, there's all types of ships. They're fun.
So I share your thoughts, Caroline, with The Force Awakens specifically, because when Kylo Ren first takes off his masks, and I've said this before, I thought he looked like a wet dog.
I think I had said that. I thought he looked so weird.
I was like,
I was pissed.
why is your face so
like,
long?
no.
Who is this? That's not a person.
I was disturbed. And I think it's the eyeliner, and I think it's the way they did his hair.
Maybe.
His hair's too perfect. It's like he had a helmet on. You're all sweaty. Why is your hair like perfectly coiffed? And it was.
I feel like it looks like a weird, like 70s do in that movie. And the eyeliner, I'm not a big eyeliner on a man type of girl, but I respect it. It's just not for me. Yeah. So in The Last Jedi, though, I was like shook, especially when they did the Ben Swallow scene. I was like, okay.
In real time, I was like, I think he's right about everything. Why is he right about everything? I remember exactly where I was sitting in the theater, and I was like, I think this is my favorite character of all time. What's going on? I didn't really have an opinion on Kylo in The Force Awakens. I thought he was fine. I was like, okay, like let's see where he goes from here, though. And I mean, I feel like so many of us were just converts in The Last Jedi. Like, oh wow.
My first thought became a meme of
I love those
Count.
memes.
My wideness has doubled since we last met.
That's hilarious.
Refrigerator Man.
How about you, Fern? Wait, did I go to you? No, I haven't done you already. Go ahead.
We're just riffing.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I didn't see Reylo at all for the first two movies, and I didn't really have an opinion one way or the other. I was just like, not really for me, until Rise of Skywalker, where I was like, oh, I'm experiencing catharsis. Like, I find this just immensely emotionally satisfying, and I don't know why, but like, I'm just gonna roll with it because this is a good thing I'm experiencing, I think.
It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Those are the best feelings.
Yeah.
And I'm having trouble remember where I started. Did I start with you, Mary Lou?
You started with Fern on this one.
Okay.
I was
The last
second.
one.
Okay, and then and Caroline, you did share your thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. I threw a bunch of other ones in there, mostly because I threw Lando and Janna only because that last scene, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, listen, man. I know you're smooth. She is too young for you. Stop it. And it wasn't until I read the novelization that I was like, oh, okay. He's not meaning it like that. But I mean, he's Lando, so I'm sure it's not off
Billy
the
D.
table.
Williams just has swag. Like, he has charm pouring out of every orifice.
Which is why the last one had Lando and the galaxy at large. I should have kept that on this one because it's still true. Some things just never change. I also threw Hux and Chewbacca up there just for discount. Bo-Katan, Hannah, if you're watching, that was squarely aimed at you. She's trying to
I
make
laughed
that
so
hard. But I mean, for me, okay. So this is, so being. I'm black, if you haven't noticed, and so
No.
when The Force Awakens happened and the thing with Finn and Rey was teased, I actually really liked it because all of my life they always took the black lead and put him with the Hispanic or the Asian girl, and that's always been the thing throughout media. You know what I mean? Even back to watching Hey Arnold in the 90s when he's going after Gerald's going after Helga's friend, I can't remember her name, and so it was like, oh, are they actually gonna do it? but no
I
which
like
is
the idea
okay.
of them. But
Well, I do prefer them as friends, and I do think that also needs to be normalized, is that you can actually be friends with someone and not try to make it into something else. We have this, it's the common like patriarchy harms men as well as women, not as bad, but definitely harms them. And I know plenty of guys. One of the reasons that there's a lot of guys that are like douchebags and stuff like that with women is because they're literally the only reason that they're dating a woman is because they have no one to talk to about their feelings, and it's only acceptable to talk about them with a woman. and it's like, you don't need a girlfriend, you need a therapist. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
There's some friends who aren't assholes.
Yeah, friends who won't make fun of you if you're having a hard time or you need help, or you need to talk to someone about your emotions, and you don't want to be called gay, which is also, having that as an insult is a whole nother problem. But we're it's like this, it's a cake of
It hurts
garbage.
It really does.
Yeah. Because then it forces women to be, these emotional managers that have to manage the men in their life, whether they're straight or they're bisexual with a man or pan or what have you, they have to manage their emotions. And there's a lot of stress on them, and then it's a lot of stress on them, and it's awful. It's a kaleidoscope of nightmares.
Okay, but going forward, I have to ask: is there any cross-era ships that you guys have thought of? If this person met this other person, what would happen? If Padme met Poe, how would that shake out? Because I actually do ship that. Even though, she's wildly successful for her age, I think he's just that smooth and charismatic. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way he would have
Leia dynamic. Yeah.
There's no way he'd have trouble talking to a princess, and he would just, like a queen, former queen. But yeah, what do you guys think? Go to Caroline first.
So it was kind of hard for me to think, just because I feel like each trilogy has such a vibe and such good chemistry within it. But kind of something I thought of would be if they were both the same age and they were both like teenagers, I could see Luke and Ahsoka would be kind of sweet.
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of sweet. And I could also see kind of like Rey and Anakin, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, but none that like stood out to me.
I did not consider Luke and Ahsoka, and I like it a lot. It's like a lemonade on a hot day, of a relationship. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I could see them being like teenage lovers.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of sweet, first loves.
How about you, Fern?
Well, I just sort of building on that comment, if they were the same age, I could see Ahsoka and Rey, honestly. I think that they would complement each other really well.
Yeah. Also, I mean, obviously not the same age, but we don't necessarily know that she's dead. But there's that's a whole side topic, and a cartoon that Dave Filoni drew with Lord of the Rings references.
I love that picture so much. It was my phone background for a while.
And Marilu?
It's hard because I feel like Luke, because this one's kind of tough for me because I just inherently am drawn to pairing Luke with other sweet little sunshine people, just because I think it'd be sweet, even though their dynamics are very different. I want Finn and Luke would be so cute. They would have the best relationship.
Oh, that'd be cute.
They would be so it would in theory be bad for fiction and television or movies because there'd just be no conflict.
Yeah.
They would just be super cute for each other and be just a mutually supportive couple and be so sweet. And also part of me so one of my favorite dynamics when it comes to Reylo, and this carries over into a kind of a cross ship, is how when it's Rey and Kylo Ren, Rey is she's so nice and she's so sweet, and Kylo Ren's all feral and mad. And then as soon as it's Ben Solo and Rey, then all of a sudden Ben Solo is so sweet and Rey is feral. I love that fun that switching dynamic is really charming to me. Just and just the idea of the one thing, something that I so appreciate about Rey is that is that J.J. Abrams like shows her eating, like, because when you think about it, women don't really eat on screen. we don't
True.
eat a lot, do we? We don't. That's not very attractive for a woman to eat. I always appreciate. I've always loved the idea of like Farrell Ray holding like all this food and just like eating, and Ben being like, "Oh, slow down, honey." Like that's like so charming for me. And I really think that like Farrell Ray and Luke would be really cute if they were the same age. Like
I know.
just like Luke.
I just thought that too.
Yeah,
Luke and
Luke
Ray
just
would
kind
be
of being
cute, too.
like little sweet sunshine boy, and Ray being like, "Did you give me a sandwich?" Like it's just like that dynamic would be really funny. And yeah, so those cross ships are really fun. It's also just because like as much as I love Luke I like Luke not being with anyone in a lot of ways because it keeps his sexuality open to interpretation. It keeps it
leaves him as a
fluid.
self-insert, a proper self-insert.
Definitely. Like everyone can be Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill has said before, he's like, if you think Luke is gay, he's gay. Like, that's totally cool and awesome. But at the same time, like, I also want Luke to be happy because I love him so much. So I'm like, oh, someone get with Luke, whoever it is. But yeah, but I love him very much. Those are fun.
And so I know you haven't checked it out yet, Caroline, but for Fern and Marilu, Avar, Chris, and Ahsoka, Element wants to know what your thoughts on if they met.
I could definitely get behind that.
Yeah.
I think there's...
From Light of the Jedi? Sorry, I thought you had read it.
Oh, I haven't started Light of the Jedi yet.
Okay,
because, okay, look, this is what happened. Like,
No.
Sawyer's like, no, I'm just being silly. Sawyer's like, you got to read Revan. I need someone to talk about Revan with. And I'm like, okay. So like, I'm still like kind of figuring out where I want to go next after I have like 2 more chapters of treatment. But as soon as I read Light of the Jedi, I will for sure give my input on that. I trust Fern's judgment though, for sure on that.
I definitely think it could work because they're both very competent. They're both very dedicated. Again, just like I think 2 people who would complement each other really well and just all be able to communicate, which would be so nice from a romantic relationship.
And then Brandon Ortiz in chats is calling Kylo Ren and Asajj Ventress.
Ooh.
Which
Asajj Ventress would just kill him.
It would be potentially explosive.
Yeah, but fun, I think. Asajj Ventress to me, like, I know a bisexual when I see one, you know, like and her, she's got a shaved head, guys. Okay, I'm just saying, like, but because I didn't read Dark Disciple, but I know who does she end up with again? Who does she?
Quinlan Vos.
Yes. Yes, and I've heard that that's a really cool relationship, and it's a really fun dynamic, and it's really wonderful, and I'm very curious. Dark Disciple and like Last Shot have been on my list forever. I just haven't found the right opportunity to kind of jump in on them. But yeah, Asajj is, and it actually kind of leads into something else I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. Can we jump into a topic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like just because I want to talk about how like, and I also want to make sure that I leave room for Fern to speak on this, because not a lot of lady ships, and that definitely, and that's not that's not you, Brandon. That's just Star Wars. There aren't a lot of women who talk to each other in Star Wars. There's not a lot of and things are definitely getting better. Like I have seen so much momentum in that direction. I always loved like Ahsoka and Padme's relationship. I thought they were so sweet. There's definitely Ahsoka and Ventress have a very interesting dynamic because they're basically just each other's like dark reflection or light reflection of each other. Very cool. There's definitely been progress made, especially with these new stories we're getting. But historically, there's, there's one girl and two guys, we have our trio, and just women don't speak to each other very often. They don't really have relationships in these stories. Like, I am so mad that, like, this thing that lives rent free in my head is how they cut the scene in The Rise of Skywalker with Rey and Rose. That when I heard that, when I saw the still of like Rey looking at her and Rose talking to her in front of the map, I was like, where is this? Where is this scene? I want women to speak to each other. I want
They
them
were
to have
so
relationships
excited
with each other.
about that scene too.
And Kelly Marie Tran, like, I've seen the clip of when she and Daisy meet. Like, I don't know if it was their first meeting or whatever, but when she and Daisy kind of converged on the red carpet for The Last Jedi, like, Kelly like breaks down in tears and they like hug each other for the longest time. And I'm like, where is this? Like, where is this dynamic? They would have been electric together. And I want, and there's definitely something to be said. Like, I have a lot of opinions on, that's a different topic, though. I want to get everyone else's input on this, especially Fern's on this. So before we jump into something else I want to talk about, so please, Fern, about like women relationships, lesbian relationships.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just Star Wars. It's like all fandoms, all literature, all movies. This is something I noticed growing up. And I was thinking about this earlier on this evening, how like I didn't read Twilight, and I was very anti-romance when I was a teenager. And it wasn't that I was actually anti-romance. It's that I didn't relate to these straight romances I was seeing. I didn't yet know I was gay. Things sort of fell into place after that. And it was mostly male ships that helped me come to that conclusion, because those female ships just did not exist. So I was also thinking of Rose and Rey, who have the cutest ship name in existence, Rose Rey. That's adorable. And I was really hoping to see them interact and see them together. And the fact that we were robbed of that seems like such a shame. But it's not just Star Wars, it's everything.
Well, sorry. No, go ahead.
One of my favorite gifts or like videos from the sequel trilogy behind the scenes is Billy Lord coming up to hug Kelly Marie Tran. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. You can just see them like interacting and having that like female bond. Because I think as a woman, like, I love my best friends, and like I think I love being a woman too. And I think we don't see enough of representation, especially for like I can list off 10 gay ships, but I can't really list off that many lesbian ships.
Yeah.
Or if they are lesbian, they're bisexual and they usually end up with a man,
Yep.
Which is unfortunate.
With the singular exception of Dr. Aphra. But that's
Dr. Aphra and Stana.
Yes.
So good. I love them. Yeah. That's in the comic books.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which I need her on big screen. I need her. I made a TikTok about this today that she needs to be played by Chloe Bennett from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And I think she can embody that character super well. So it was, what's her name? Lindsay Tomlin that was doing a Star Wars project, and they said there was going to be elements of Indiana Jones. We all thought that it was going to be Aphra. That's what the Acolyte is. So I was like, we were chanting like Aphra for forever, and we were wrong. I'm still excited for it, but we still need to get that. But I think I know the reason for it. That there aren't many girl-girl relationships in Star Wars and media. And it's because they don't know how to write women. If a movie can't pass the Bechdel test, how are you going to have two women? Like, what? Like, if two women, what man they talk about? And
that's where the Bechdel test comes from as well. Alison Bechdel was writing about the experience of being a lesbian and not being able to see not just like lesbian representation, but female representation at all in the things we consume. And obviously the Bechdel test has like taken on a life of its own and how we interpret it now, but it's talking about that exact experience.
Something I always think about is Carrie Fisher, one of her many great quotes is she said women are like over qualified seasoning in a dish. You know, we only need a little bit of it apparently, but like we're always like overqualified when we are like taken into consideration. And that's definitely apparent in film because as a woman in film, there are a lot of male creators, and that's awesome because some men can write really good women and vice versa. But I think it's, again, like you want to get everyone's opinion and everyone's perspective. And I love seeing those badass women in Star Wars. That's something that I fell in love with. I fell in love with Leia. So it's like, it makes, that's should be part of the equation.
Yeah. And
you always say thank you, Brandon. It's like, one of the things I always found so frustrating about I love Star Wars so much. It's such a huge part of my life, but it's like I find that this franchise has a very hard time branching into just letting, like, we have some amazing female characters, but they are always, most of them are always intrinsically kind of connected to the men in their lives, which isn't inherently bad, but it's just very like, you're not letting them just be these characters on their own. And Rey and Rey's not a perfect character. I love Rey so much though. And it's like, yeah, she's romantically linked to Ben. Sure. But it's like, this is her story. She follows the heroine's journey. It's her story. It's her identity. She chooses to take the Skywalker name. It's about her. And I really will forever appreciate that. And that represents a step. It's definitely a step, but it's like this, I forget my point, but it's this, it'll come back to me later. Brandon, I'm pulling a U where I had a point and it fell out of my head.
No worries. Maybe I'll help you by
maybe help
by talking.
Yeah, go ahead.
But there's a lot of cases where we're making progress with representation, and it irritates the crap out of me when people take it out of context. Like John Boyega's interview with GQ, he's talking a lot about how we can't bait and switch. Like, we've made some progress. The fact that he was in it as a headline character in sci-fi is new. You know what I mean? Like, that is progress. But they chickened out at the last moment in quite a few ways. So yes, that is progress, but it's not enough. We're not there yet. Yeah. And that's what we need to continue working towards. But we're slowly getting there and slowly infiltrating different parts of media. Again, the book Last Shot that I'm revisiting, it's actually something we're going to talk about with Daniel Jose Older this weekend, because it's funny, I didn't even pick it up when I read the book the first time, but they hire a pilot named Taka, and he's... Oh, I screwed that up. Taka is non-binary. And it's, and it's just kind of casually tossed in there. But I liked the fact that wasn't, that's just a footnote on who the character is. It's not their defining quality, and so they didn't spend a whole lot of time trying to hammer you on it. But they're working on it, slowly getting there. Yeah. And as someone who, myself personally, I don't know why, all of my favorite characters tend to be women. Always. Like, Jaina Solo is my favorite Star Wars character, hard stop, always has been. And then I find myself writing stories and having a woman lead, and because all this stuff, I don't feel confident that I am able to capture the voice properly, and it's just like, it's this difficult seesaw, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But
and that jogged my. I remember my point. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad. You jogged it for me. It is on the topic of representation. It's that, the fact that we're making these small steps, but all of these women are still white. Padme and Carrie and Leia and Rey are white, and they're pretty heteronormative. And it's like, what hope? Like, we got to keep pushing this, though, because what hope does a woman of color have in Star Wars? Like, look at the reaction to Kelly Marie Tran. Look at, like, it's and queer women in Star Wars, or God forbid, a queer woman of color. Like what? They exist? Like, yeah, Star Wars, they exist. Yes, media, they exist. And it's.
But you're pushing an agenda. The Force is female.
Women are people? What? This is an agenda. And it's just like, and so for me, it's like it's progress, but it's not fast enough. Like I need Star Wars to make more of an effort to include women of color in leading roles and also like men of color too, because there still is, like, I'll never forget when the Force Awakens trailer came out and Finn was the first person we saw on screen, and I was like, oh, cool. That's really cool. Like, awesome. I can't wait to see this movie. And then you go to the comments section and it's just racism with a capital R. And you're like, what is going on? And just like, I want a man of color to be in a leading role.
I was heartbroken. Like, people said black people can't be stormtroopers, and you're like, so if you're out just recruiting soldiers, I don't know, it's so weird.
There are blue people in Star Wars. There are aliens in Star Wars.
People are very ignorant, and sadly, I don't even know if it, like, I don't know. I think there's people that are definitely, like, have a bad heart and, like, are racist to the core, but I think a lot of it is ignorance, and, like, it isn't shown enough, and when it is, sometimes those stories, like, they hit you over the head with it, like, we need to talk about race, but we also just need to show different people and different people of color having different life experiences. That's how we connect with other people. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, the more you see it, the more it becomes normal, the more you can explore all kinds of different topics.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of different topics, we got a ton of things coming down the pipeline from Star Wars. I'm curious, what, if anything, has you guys excited? I'm toying with a bunch of them. People ask me, like, which one are you most excited for? And I find my answer changes all of the time. But the fact that, Rogue Squadron, Patty Jenkins' father was a fighter pilot, and she's going to be doing Rogue Squadron, just makes it seem like it's going to be awesome to me personally. But I'll go to Marilu first. And what of the project you've seen, what are you excited for?
I'm really excited for the Obi-Wan show. I'm really pumped for that because I love Ewan McGregor. I love Hayden Christensen. Hayden Christensen was dealt such a tough hand, a bad hand. He was just completely bullied out of Hollywood, and he's a farmer. A fun fact: he is actually a farmer. He owns a farm, and he's a farmer, and that's his livelihood. To see him, like, he didn't have to say yes to this. He could have said no. Why would I go back to a dog that bit me? Like, but he's coming back for it, and I'm very excited to see what they do with that. I'm also very excited for Visions because I love anime. Star Wars is anime as fuck. and I often see people, like, because there are a lot of Star Wars fans that, like, hate anime. It's like weird. It's like this weird, like, thing, I guess. They're like, oh, anime. It looks so I'm like, yeah, Star Wars is anime. It's the blueprints of anime. It's like you got a trio. There's always a trio. You got a hero getting stronger and and fighting and going through these different arcs. Like, what are you talking about? It's so anime and fun. And it really solidified for me when I found that copy, like volume 2 of like the manga version of Return of the Jedi that I found at a random bookstore. And it was so cool looking, and so some of the art was was a little janky, but it was really cool. And I was like, man, the anime in manga format fits so well with Star Wars. And you see that because the Lost Stars book had an anime adaptation. The Leia Princess of Alderaan book has started its manga adaptation. The Leia Princess of Alderaan book has started its manga adaptation. It's anime. Star Wars is anime as heck, and to see these talented animators from Japan take a crack at the Star Wars universe with their specific visions, no pun intended, is so exciting for me. And I think it's going to really steer some people into loving. It's gonna convert a lot of Star Wars fans into saying like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is awesome. And I'm
They're gonna be
very
like,
excited for that.
why do I love this so much? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Element brings out that also the chosen one trope is very well ingrained in anime.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so you did mention the Obi-Wan show. And I was curious if you were aware that Anna Graves is casted to be in the show. Anna Graves is the voice actor that played Satine in the Clone Wars.
Oh no. Oh no, I didn't know that. Oh no.
Now
I'm not ready.
now we don't know that she's coming back as Satine specifically, but it seems like a waste to not. And she looks
She's coming back as the teen.
she looks like Satine. If you see what Anna Graves looks like. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So yeah, we might get some interesting content with that as well.
I always wanted an Obi-Wan Satine book. Like, I always want. That's what I thought Master and Apprentice was going to be by Claudia Gray, and it wasn't. And that's totally cool. I love Master and Apprentice. I love Claudia Gray, but that's what I thought it was going to be. And I was like, so when it didn't turn out to be that, I was like, oh, okay, but like, where's my Obi-Wan Satine book? Like, I need this in my life.
I am going to be like, I'm not joking. I'm going to start a petition to have Claudia Gray write an Obi-Wan Satine book. I know she wants to. I know she wants to. One more tidbit for you, Mary Lou, is that the High Republic is going to get its first official manga where it's not an adaptation. It is a High Republic manga.
Very interesting.
They're actually getting some of the best manga writers to put together an original story in manga format. So that'll be exciting as well.
Definitely check it out. Yeah.
How about you, Caroline? Anything you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so many. You guys already listed so many. The Lando series I'm really excited for. Love Lando. The Obi-Wan series, I'm really excited just to get more of the original trilogy characters. Hopefully they make appearances. And then lastly, I wasn't super into The Mandalorian until the last episode, and I was mind blown. So I'm really hoping they have a little baby Ben Solo, and maybe in the background we can have the Solo family. And seeing more of Luke would be amazing. So I'm really excited for that next season. Oh, and then I forgot about this. The Bad Batch. So I worked at a talent agency last year, and one of our clients is voice acting in that. So I knew about it for years before. So I'm really excited for it to finally come out. Take a look at that.
So I wasn't excited at all for the Bad Batch, because the arc was good, but it wasn't great in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And then they showed the teaser for it, and I was like, oh my god, how is this everything I've ever wanted? We've never seen the other side of Order 66. right?
Yeah.
So this is a crazy time. Finnick is in it, and I don't know. And hopefully they run into Quinlan Voss. I need that to happen. Quinlan Voss is a Jedi that survived Order 66. I need to know what happens to him because he fell in love with Asajj Ventress. He fell to the dark side. He has a really complicated story. Is a really interesting character. I was hoping he would come back to save Grogu. Although, if I'm recommending books for you, Caroline specifically, I actually would recommend Last Shot as I'm rereading it right now because it's actually 3 time periods at the same time. It is like a modern story of Hondo. Han and Lando on a mission, but with flashes back 10 years ago to a Han mission, with flashbacks 10 years prior to that on a Lando mission. And you get like little baby Ben running butt-ass naked. And stuff.
That's so cute. Sold.
So yeah, there's some cool stuff, but I am super excited for Lando as well. I need some more details on that. And I just love anything that Donald Glover does. They didn't specifically say he was coming back, but he's got to come back. I mean,
Let's hope.
I'd be shocked if he didn't. How about you, friend?
Obi-Wan show is way up there. It's like what I wanted for over a decade now, it feels. Just more Obi-Wan content. But also just extremely mixed feelings, extremely cautiously optimistic about the Ahsoka show because since I was 13 years old, Ahsoka has been my favorite Star Wars character, the light of my life, just like owning my heart and my soul. And I am so excited and I am so nervous. And I think it's going to be cool that it's live action. I really love animation. And so that's another thing that like I'm cautiously optimistic to like see this in a medium that I am not familiar with necessarily with this character, but I think it opens the door to just so much cool stuff and a bigger life for the character. So, yeah.
And speaking of open doors, the background for Ahsoka makes me super excited because it's World Between Worlds, and I need to learn more about. There's so much deep lore that's being promised here, and that's why I say my answer changes every time because when Kathleen Kennedy said, "Oh yeah, Hayden Christensen is reprising his role as Darth Vader," and you're like, "Wait, what?" Like I thought I was expecting flashbacks, but no, Darth Vader.
I'm stoked for that.
It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, I'm in on that. Then they show the trailer for Bad Batch. I'm like, okay, super in on that. I love anime, so I'm super in on that. I love like the Force and deep lore and stuff. So Ahsoka is obviously in, and as well as the Acolyte, which is a new happens at the tail end of the High Republic. So it's a time period we've never seen before. It's going to be a whole bunch of dark side stuff. And who knows? I mean, she may end up running into Darth Tenebrous, which becomes Plagueis' master, which becomes Palpatine's master, or whatever. There's a lot of possibilities. Then, of course, we have Patty Jenkins coming through, Taika Waititi's coming through, Kevin Feige's coming through. Like, there's
so much. It's going to be so great.
It's going to be epic.
I remember talking when you had asked me, Coco, on the lightsaber episode, you were like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know who I need to sacrifice a go to get Darksider content. And now we're getting it in the Acolyte. I'm very excited for it. I'm like, oh, finally. God. Something that isn't just the Jedi and Yoda lecturing me into my grave. Like, oh, thank God. I love Yoda.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of awesome stuff to look forward to. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much for the conversation. Like, this was just an awesome group with just varying backgrounds, and I don't know. I feel lucky that I get to like talk to all these like different and unique people about these topics, and like I'm just a random dude that loves Star Wars, and
You do this every episode. You're always
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
It's
much.
so sweet.
uh,
Yeah.
but I mean it every episode. I'm shocked every episode. I'm shocked that there's people in chat right now that like are watching and enjoying this, and people like enjoy watching. And I can't wait to have each and every one of you guys on for future episodes. But
Love that.
I wanted to go around and see if you guys have any closing thoughts, and also where can we find you and your content. And also, this is kind of new. I'm throwing this in last minute, but I really appreciate that, like we are four very different people with very different backgrounds that can just enjoy being fans and not have to like fight each other for like who's the biggest fan or whatnot. So along with that, I want to hear what do you guys think that we need, the fandom needs, if you have any thoughts. Sorry for throwing that audible on you. So to reiterate, if you have any closing thoughts, where can we find you and your content, and how can we do better as fans? And I'm going to go to Mary Lou first.
Okay. Closing thoughts. Well, one of the things that I was thinking a lot about was, and Fern just brought this completely to the forefront of my mind even more, was the fact that like how Fern talked about how like she became familiar with her sexuality not through the lesbian relationships of Star Wars, because there are none, but through kind of the implication of the gay gay relationships with men. And I think I spent a lot of time reflecting on kind of the fandom's relationship with gay men, and the way that there is issue, I think, especially in the straight female fandom, with fetishizing gay men, and there's nothing like, for me, like if you've got chemistry, if you're an adult, like I'm all here for it. I'm here for straight relationships, gay relationships. I'm here for pan relationships. I'm here for whatever. Like I'm bi, I'm queer, like I'm all for whatever comes my way here. You got chemistry, but I do think that there is a problem in the Star Wars, in all fandoms too, with the fetishizing of gay men, with straight women and with queer women too. I think queer women don't get a pass. It's like gay men are not here for our fantasies. They are people, and you can ship them, but I think that if all you do is ship gay men, that can lead to some problematic mindsets. I think that it can lead to some damaging assumptions. And I would encourage the fandom to have a healthy mindfulness that while they're fictional characters, to a lot of people, they represent them. To a lot of people, these are real people. They represent them in this media. They relate to them in this media. And it's good shipping is fun and romance is great. But also to remember that like these, they aren't just objects, and that they might, what these people mean to you might mean something else to someone else. And just to treat all ships with respect and fun and yeah, but also to the fact that, we didn't really talk about non-canonical relationships. It's no secret that Rayla was modeled after, Bastila and Revan. That's very kind of well known. And there are so many non-canon ships that are so wonderful and fun. Like,
speaking of ships, Luke Skywalker was going to fell in love with a ship.
Yeah. That completely threw me off. Oh my god!
So I apologize, Kate. I want you to continue, but I will never let Luke Skywalker live down Callista. You don't fall in love with a computer, and then
the EU books.
Yeah,
and
then download that computer's mind into a person that you were friends with for a long time.
Oh god!
And then you date that person I'm just saying, that's messed up.
Luke was a
Luke
hot mess in
Skywalker.
the EU. He was
Luke
a
had
hot
his
mess.
cringe. We were talking about it in Discord. I was like, me and my best friend were really looking into his relationships in the EU and how it's like all just like he kisses women and then the women die and then he's like, I'm sad. And I'm like, what is happening? What is going on? Like
It was
and it's just
bizarre.
like, it was bizarre. It definitely, and as much as Luke is definitely queer coded to me. I love Mara Jade. I think she's a really cool character. I think that she really took on, I know a lot of people kind of compare Mara to sort of like this like Black Widow type, like, oh, she's just kind of there for male fantasy. But everything I've read of Mara Jade, she's a pretty fully formed character. She's really cool. Timothy Zahn, I
She's
think, writes women rather
nothing
well.
like Black Widow besides red hair.
Nothing. Yeah,
I
exactly.
love
Like
Black
people
Widow.
see,
Side note.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with
see-
that. But there's this
Yeah.
weird thing where it's like a rarity thing of like
Yeah.
women with red hair. So like Spider-Man falls in love with Mary Jane, and then Tony falls in love with Pepper Potts, and Barry Allen falls in love with Iris. Like everyone just falls in love with redheads because they're
Yeah.
unique, and like it's portrayed that the blonde ones are this and brunettes are this, and then the red-haired women are these like strong, independent women, and you're like, it has nothing to do with the hair. Like, why are you so focused on the hair? Like,
and people see these characters and they immediately kind of like connect them to each other, like, oh, she's just like this or this, and it's like, and Mara's really cool. I like Mara Jade a lot, and I think that so there's like a lot of really cool non-canon ships that like just because they're non-canon doesn't mean that like. Just because these books are non-canon doesn't mean you can't read them and enjoy them. I've been loving Legends so far. I love these stories; they're so goofy and just just enjoy what you enjoy and have fun with it. You can find me at Miss Eggy on TikTok. I do most of my posting there, and this was a pleasure as always, Coco. Thank you so much for having me on, and yeah.
always. Also,
Thanks.
just so you know, and this goes for all three of you guys, my library is open to you guys if you are into audiobooks.
Thank you.
Marilu, you're doing Legends right now. I have almost all of them, so
I'll reach out to you for sure.
I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
the Courtship of Princess Leia.
I do. It's actually a really short book.
I threw that book across my room when I read it. I've never done that with a book before. Side note.
If I was gonna make any like Legends recommendation towards you, is I would want to start you further in the future with like Legacy of the Force or something like that, where you have fully fledged characters. Jaina Solo is just the best. I love her so much.
She seems awesome.
She's just the
She's
greatest,
badass.
especially in Legacy of the Force. But same question to you. Closing thoughts. Where can we find you, and what does the fandom need?
Me? Mm-hmm. Okay. So kind of my closing thoughts are just everyone in the Star Wars community, if you are listening, please just be kind to each other, because it is such, like, I have met the best people, you three, like I've met so many of my really good friends through Star Wars. And if we keep it open to everyone, like we can take over the world. Like we will get more content if we are better to each other and consume it and are not so hateful. So that's like my closing thing. And I wanted to thank you for having me on. This is my first podcast ever, so it's really exciting. And then I do use TikTok and Twitter. So my TikTok is Simp for the Solo Boys with a 4, Simp 4. And then my Twitter is similar. It's Simp for the Solos. So yeah, I would love it if people could follow me on there.
Awesome. Love it. And I love your content. B, you're the reason I'm doing this episode. You mentioned it during your live that I hopped into, and I was like, I gotta do that. We've just, how have I not talked about this?
There's not a lot of
What's wrong
podcasts
with
on the
me?
romance and Star Wars. I've looked.
And my goal is to reach out to talk to all Star Wars fans of all kinds. I didn't even know how varied you guys would be, but I love it. It's the best. And how about you, Fern?
Yeah, so my closing thoughts are that love is great and brave, and we should celebrate it in all its forms. And my message to the Star Wars community is that Star Wars is fun and great and stupid a lot of the time, and that's okay, and we can embrace that. And I think, yeah, I absolutely second what you said, Caroline. Like, empathy and kindness, I think should be at the forefront of our minds when we interact with each other and interact with this content. And I want to thank you for having me on the podcast, because this is also my first podcast. So thank you so much. You can find me on TikTok at FernAMG, and elsewhere on the internet, sort of a scavenger hunt, because I never use the same username twice. But you can find some of my writing under the name A.M. Gelberg.
Okay, nice. So you are a self-proclaimed lurker. Gotcha. There's nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing.
I kind of do the same thing too.
And maybe your first podcast. That's certainly not your last. I loved having you on, and Fern is also going to be talking with Element 7 and I this weekend on Dyad and the Force. And then also, Element 7 just commented, well, now we need to have Caroline on on Dyad as well. So, yeah, just thank you guys for being delightful. And my goal, Element, J. Kev Parker, there's a lot of us. There's so much negative stuff out there in our community that it's more negative than positive, and it breaks my heart that people say, "Oh, no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans." Like, that expression is horrible, right?
Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
That's not a fandom you want to be part of. And I know creators from multiple fandoms that are like, yeah, I just don't touch Star Wars anymore. That also makes me sad.
Oh.
So the goal is we're taking over. Be the change you want to see, right? So
exactly.
let's keep going. Let's make content. Let's spread the love. And yeah, I mean, may the Force be with everyone. Always.
May the Force be with you.